Hi, my name is Alfonso Pisanelli, student ID 212-99552. This is my project for digital audio interface design, and I decided to build a generative music patch using Max. The idea was to have some control over what was going on and create a piece of music which had some cohesion rather than completely random notes put together. So this is in edit mode, and I have 6 instruments. So melody, melody 2, pads, bass, percussion, and audio loops. Melody, melody 2, and percussion are randomly generated, whereas pads is a chord sequence which is looped on an 8-bar cycle. The bass follows the pads, so it plays the root notes of the chords that are being played at the time, and the audio loops are triggered as I feel during the performance. There are currently 7 loops in the list, and I can trigger any one of them at any given time. So this is the melody section. So it generates random notes using a key slider, and it's tied into a scale, a predefined scale with a scalar object, and it then goes out into a VST instrument for sound. Now, I initially had problems, well, not problems, but it sounded a bit sterile and undynamic, so I inserted an automated velocity dial, which automates the velocity through the performance, and I put in a bit of delay, just a bit of depth and dimension to the sound. The melody 2 is generated randomly, so it's got 6 notes which I programmed here, and it's just a counter melody, and again it goes out through a VST instrument. It has a velocity automation on it for a bit of dynamics and a bit of delay on it as well. The pads are a chord sequence, so I wanted a specific chord sequence for cohesion, and at least I knew what was coming next. And so the chords are triggered. The first chord is triggered on the first beat of the loop, first bar, sorry, of the loop, then on 3rd bar, 5th bar, 7th bar of the loop, and then it goes back to the first. And it has an automated cutoff filter just to give it a bit of movement, which I can control various parameters through my MIDI controller. There's a gate, so I can switch it off or on as well, the cutoff filter. The bass follows the pads, so it is being triggered by the pads. So this bang here triggers off the notes of the bass. Did this because when I was composing and putting this patch together, I thought it was a bit light on the low end. I then tried having the bass do random notes like the melody parts, but I found it was getting a bit too messy and chaotic because too many random notes kicking off at once, and a lot of the time they wouldn't sync. Therefore, that's why I decided to just sync it up to the pads, as it gives me a low end and it's just playing the root notes of the chord. The percussion part, so I've got the percussion part, and each matrix is assigned to a sound, and each sound has various presets. Is generated randomly, so each sound plays randomly, and so you get different combinations of hi-hats, snare drums, and bass drums. Again, initially the sound was quite sterile and wasn't really interesting, so I pitched it up by a couple of So I pitched it up by 2, and then I put in a degrader object which affects the sampling rate and the bit depth, and they sound a lot more exciting. Then I've got the audio loops. As I said, I had got 7 loops in here. I could include more if I wanted to, but for the time being I think that's more than sufficient for my performance. And it's got a time stretching algorithm already incorporated and implemented, and therefore I can put in any loop at any tempo and it will automatically sync up to the tempo that I'm at the moment. There's also a slider with a glitch section which I can use to make glitch effects. So this is 1 bar playing, this is the whole loop, sorry, the whole loop playing. This is half the loop, this is a quarter of the loop, and this is the 1/8 of the loop, and I can just loop it around and it'll give me that glitchy style effect to it. Then to the right I have a whole bunch of controllers section linked up to my MIDI controller, and I ran out of buttons, so I started using my computer keyboard to trigger stuff, and that's it. So as I said, this is the edit mode. I'll go into the presentation mode, which is a bit nicer on the eyes, and here we go. So everything here has been mapped out to a MIDI controller or a keyboard. Okay, so that's it. So the next thing I'm going to do is play through it, and so you can have a listen.